You stand right now at the gateway of transformation. 90 days may seem small in the scope of a lifetime, but I say to you, with conviction forged in experience and truth, 90 days of focused action can change your life forever. Not temporarily, not conditionally, but permanently if you commit. You know, when I began my journey toward the study of success, I was penniless, uncertain, and confused. I had interviewed the greatest minds of our era, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, and still I found myself in personal darkness. But when I made a clear, committed decision to test the power of focused thought and relentless purpose for just Coaster's days, the soil of my mind began to shift. You know, the power of a Coaster's Day decision lies not in the length of time, but in the intensity of your commitment. Most people drift through life waiting for the right time, but the right time is not on the calendar, it is in your will. The moment you say, no more delay, no more excuses. For Coaster's days, I will give everything I have, then a new life begins. What are you committing to? You are committing to the definite major purpose of your life. For these Coaster's days, you do not wake up without knowing what you serve. A man without purpose is like a ship without a rudder. He may float, but he'll never reach a port. Choose your purpose with courage, write it down, and speak it aloud every morning and every night. You are reprogramming your mind. You are building the life you desire through repetition and belief. The mind does not care whether a thought is true or false. It simply follows what is planted with repetition. And that is where the law of autosuggestion becomes your ally. Every day for Coaster's days, you must feed your subconscious the picture of your success. Speak life into your goals. Speak strength into your fears. Say, I am success. I am power. I am discipline. You are not lying. You are awakening the version of yourself that has always been waiting. But be warned, procrastination will knock at your door. It will wear the mask of fatigue, of confusion, of distraction. And you must be prepared with a shield of daily discipline. Your days must not be wasted in scrolling, waiting, or complaining. They must be invested. Wake up earlier. Read something powerful. Write your thoughts. Take action on one goal each day. One brick a day builds a palace in time. And on the days you are tired, and they will come, you must cling to persistence and faith like a man clings to the last rope from a sinking ship. You must remind yourself that temporary defeat is not failure. In those moments, faith is your fire. It is the inner voice that says, you were not brought this far to stop here. Remember, every great achievement began with a decision to keep going when others would quit. So I ask you now, will you give your future Coaster's days? Not half-heartedly, not when it's convenient, but fully with the spirit of a warrior and the belief of a creator. For Coaster's days, commit to your definite purpose. Repeat your vision, discipline your actions, reject excuses. Embrace the grind, and then watch as the invisible becomes visible. Watch as new doors open. Watch as you are transformed, not because the world changed, but because you did make the decision now. 90 days from today, you will not recognize the person you used to be. That is not a hope. It is a promise to those who commit. The only question is, will you? Let me tell you something you already feel in your bones, but perhaps have never put into words. Change does not require a lifetime. It only requires a moment of true decision, a decision backed by desire, discipline, and faith. I've seen it in my own life, and I've seen it in the lives of every man and woman who rose from nothing to greatness. It all began with a committed decision. Why Coaster's days? Because it is long enough to rewire your habits, your thinking, your emotional reactions, but short enough for you to stay hungry. It is a sprint inside a marathon. It is a sacred contract you make with yourself, a focused war against mediocrity. I remember sitting with Andrew Carnegie in the early days of my research. He leaned in close, looked me dead in the eye, and said, young man, if the average person would focus his mind upon a single purpose for even 90 days, with the same intensity as a starving man hunting food, he would astonish himself and the world. That moment stuck with me, and I tested it. For Coaster days, I treated my goals not as distant dreams, but as daily responsibilities. I woke up each morning and asked, what action today moves me closer? And I refused utterly refused to go to bed without doing something that honored my purpose. I didn't wait to feel motivated. I didn't need applause. I didn't need anyone to believe in me. I had made a decision, and I stuck to it. That alone began to build a new identity in me. Not someone who hoped, but someone who acted. You see, a decision is not a wish. It is not a preference, a true decision. That is the power of a Kozier's Day decision. Let me ask you a question, and answer it honestly in your heart. Do you know what you want? I don't mean a vague idea. I don't mean some borrowed dream from society or family. I mean you, deep in your soul. Do you know what your purpose is? Because if you don't, then no matter how hard you work, you are simply wandering. And let me tell you plainly, no man has ever drifted his way to greatness. Success doesn't come to those who are merely busy. It comes to those who are intentional. I know the first thing you must do before you build new habits, before you chase new goals, is to define your definite major purpose. Without it, your mind is a house with no blueprint. And worse, when the storms of life come, you'll have no foundation to stand on. Now, your purpose is your internal compass. It gives meaning to your action. It gives direction to your struggle. It gives clarity to your chaos. When I was writing Think and Grow Rich, I interviewed over 100 of the most successful individuals of that era. And not a single one of them, not one, was unclear about what they were trying to achieve. They may have faced bankruptcy. They may have stumbled, but their purpose remained sharp like the edge of a knife. Carnegie told me this Verdian, a man with a definite purpose is like a cannon loaded with power. Once aimed, nothing can stop the explosion. So, I'll challenge you now. Write your purpose down. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now, write it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. This is the command you are giving your subconscious mind. This is the instruction you are sending into the universe, and once it's written, repeat it aloud every morning and every night, not like a robot, but with feeling, with fire. You are reprogramming your mind, because the mind learns through repetition. The more you hear something, especially from yourself, the deeper it carves itself into your identity. When you speak your purpose with intensity day after day, your brain begins to accept it. Your actions begin to align with it. Your eyes begin to notice the opportunities that were always there, but were invisible to your distracted mind. This is not wishful thinking, it's not magic, it's mental conditioning, and it works. It worked for me when I had nothing but paper and a dream. It worked for every man and woman I studied who went from the slums to success. The mind is like a garden. It will grow whatever you plant in it. If you plant doubt, you'll harvest hesitation. If you plant confusion, you'll reap inaction. But if you plant purpose, clear, definite, burning purpose, you will harvest a life beyond your imagination. So for these Kozier's Days, you are not just working, you are aiming. You are not just moving, you are moving forward, because you are no longer guessing what your life is about. You have defined it, you have written it, you are speaking it, and now you are becoming it. Now that your purpose is written, declared, and burned into your conscious mind, it's time to recruit the most powerful ally you have, the subconscious mind. And the tool by which you reach it is called autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is not mere affirmation. It is not weak repetition of empty words. It is the act of convincing your subconscious through emotionally charged repetition of a belief so strongly that your mind begins to accept it as truth. And once it accepts it as truth, it begins to influence your behavior, your perception, and your results. This is not theory. This is not guesswork. This is law. Your subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined and emotionally repeated. That's why people who constantly say, I'm unlucky or I always fail, often end up with experiences that confirm those very statements. They are using the law of autosuggestion, but against themselves. What I'm telling you now is this. For the next courses days, you must become a master craftsman of your inner dialogue. You must watch your thoughts and choose your words with the precision of a sculptor. Every morning, stand in front of a mirror and declare your purpose, your goals, and your identity as if it were already real. Say it loud, say it strong, and say it like your future depends on it, because it does. When I was down to my last dollar, no opportunity, no plan, I didn't speak what I saw. I spoke what I believed. I said, I am the author of the most powerful philosophy of success the world has ever known. At the time, I had nothing but rejection and doubt, but my subconscious didn't care about external circumstances. It accepted what I fed it, because I fed it daily, with intensity, with belief. You must do the same. Speak your success aloud every day. Speak of the life you are building, not the one you're trying to escape. Speak of strength. Speak as of wealth when numbers speak of charity. Speak as a Corson and the sea in nay for orin speed. Speak of victory. Speak of wealth. Speak of character. Speak of purpose. And here's the key. Attach emotion to your words. Emo, dubzalion. Procrastination doesn't shout. It whispers. It tells you you've got time, when time is exactly what you don't have. It tells you you're too tired today, start tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week becomes next year, and before you know it, your dreams have expired while you were waiting for the perfect moment. You, my friend, the perfect moment does not exist. Success belongs not to the most talented, not to the most educated, not even to the most connected, but to the one who disciplines himself daily in spite of mood, in spite of weather, in spite of doubt. Discipline is what breaks the cycle of delay. Let me tell you plainly, you will not feel like it every day for courses days. You will wake up on some mornings feeling defeated before the day begins. You'll feel the pull to scroll your phone, to check the news, to rest a little longer. And that, right there, is the battleground. That moment of hesitation is where the weak give in and where the great get up. You must train yourself to act regardless of how you feel. Discipline means doing what must be done, especially when you don't feel like doing it. That is when your identity is being forged. That is when character is being built. Carnegie didn't build an empire because he felt inspired every day. Edison didn't invent the light bulb because he waited until motivation struck. They showed up day after day with or without applause, with or without certainty. Because they understood this law, Reynolds' success is the result of repeated small efforts, done with excellence, done with intention, and done without excuses. So what must you do? You build a non-negotiable daily routine that honors your purpose, and you stick to it. You make it sacred. For these courses days, your daily tasks are not suggestions. They are commands from your higher self. Wake up at the same time. Review your purpose. Speak your affirmations. Take action toward your goal. Reflect before you sleep. Even if the action is small, do it. Especially when the action is small, because that's how you build momentum. One brick a day, stacked with discipline, becomes a wall, then a tower, then a fortress. But skip one day, then another, and the structure collapses. This discipline becomes your armor. You will begin to trust yourself in a way you never have before. Your mind will stop questioning, can I do this? Because your actions are answering it every single day. You will begin to feel a force growing inside you. Not arrogance, not ego, but the quiet, unshakable power of self-respect. Let me be absolutely clear. You cannot change your life with scattered effort. You cannot transform your reality by doing the right thing once in a while. You must do the right thing daily. Not perfectly, but consistently. With grit, with hunger, with fire, and each day you do this, procrastination loses its grip. Discipline becomes your default, and in time you no longer need to push yourself because your actions are now aligned with your identity. You're no longer someone trying to be disciplined. You are disciplined, and that, my friend, is where everything begins to change. But not you. Not if you understand the two greatest forces that separate the defeated from the victorious: persistence and faith. Wait, let me tell you a truth as certain as the rising sun. No one reaches their full potential without a season of resistance. Resistance is the forge in which greatness is shaped, and persistence is the hammer that pounds doubt into dust. The world doesn't hand you success because you ask once. It responds when you refuse to stop asking, stop moving, stop believing. No, persigen means you going forward, even when nothing seems to be working, even when the results aren't showing yet, even when the voice in your head says, "What's the point?" You persist because you made a vow, not to the world, but to yourself. I remember countless nights when I sat alone, manuscript pages scattered across the table, no publisher, no income, no guarantee that any of it would work. But I didn't stop. Why? Because I had faith, not in luck, not in chance, but in universal law, the law that what you plant, you will harvest if you do not faint before the harvest comes. Your faith is not blind hope. Faith is a decision, a commitment to believe in the unseen, the unproven, and the future self you are building. And the irony? The more you believe, the more evidence appears. That's how faith works. You don't wait for proof before you act. You act, and then the proof arrives. Your faith and persistence work together like the wings of a bird, one without the other, and you will circle in frustration. But when they move together, day after day, in rhythm, you rise, you soar. You must persist through the silence, through the days when no one notices, when no one applauds, when the world seems indifferent. That is the test. And that is the transformation. Every step you take in that lonely season is preparing you for the moment your results. Excellent. Dealt.